Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Hoops Official. Hoops Official is a platform I created about a year ago to help young and aspiring referees advance in their careers. On that note, today I had the privilege to have a chat with Karol Kowalski, a Polish referee based in Finland and has been refereeing for about 20 years. He's been refereeing in leagues like Finnish Korisliiga, EuroLeague Women, Euro Cup Women, and FIBA Europe Cup. Karol lives probably the furthest north of any FIBA referee, and that's one of the characteristics that sets him apart. He's based in Rovaniemi in Finland, which is about 12 hours journey from Helsinki up to north. He's literally in the Arctic Circle where the Santa Claus is from, which requires a lot of traveling for FIBA games to Europe and the Korisliiga games down to south of Finland. Therefore, we talk about his dedication to work, his mental and physical preparedness, among other tips and tricks he has to share. One note from my side is that you definitely need to hear from Karol if you want to hear about what it really takes, what kind of dedication it takes to be a top-level referee. So tune into the episode, really listen what Karol has to say, and try to apply his dedication or some of it to your own work in order to aim higher and go higher in your careers. Karol, thanks for joining us and having the time to share your tips and tricks.
Thank you for invitation to me. It's my pleasure.
So Karol, you have been refereeing since 2004, if I remember right. It's been about 20 years, and it's a long career. And I think you started very early on to your refereeing career, unlike me, who started at the age of 30. So we have completely different experience with the refereeing, I assume. So tell us a little bit about your career. And this is something I ask to almost all the referees I interview, is that, when you have such long career, there is this milestones, things that you remember and things you would get back to as, this was the moment. Do you have those? Like, if you could also share those with us, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's been 20 years, that's true. An anniversary day today. But if I think about the milestones, well, what I recall is for sure my first game when I was sitting on the table officials and counting the points. I think this is when everything started. And since the counting points was very good because I was, I think, pretty good in maths, then I was invited to, officiate the game afterwards. So I think this was something that kind of got my attention. And then the next one, I would say, is the moment when I was signed for the referee course and then I had the referee exam. And it was back in the days in Poland because I'm originally from Poland. So the guy who was examining, I was so young, I was 14, so I had to come with my father, and there was a written permission on a paper, I remember as today, who said that he allows me to take part in the referee course and take part in the exam because I was underage. But then this teacher or the guy who was examining us was saying that this guy is very potential, that you need to put attention and you need to put effort on him, that there will be some good material. This is what I remember how the story started. But then, of course, it goes on. The show goes on, and you make million of games, and you go from the game to game, and you don't kind of focus too much on what you are doing. Like in a sense that you don't memorize those things. They're just going next one, next one, next one. Every game is a new stress, and every game was a new experience, new people, and new stuff. And every time you want to get a better game and better game and better game, and suddenly you realize that, oh shit, it's been already 5 years I've been doing this,
Yeah.
But if we talk about the milestones, I think the next one was because I have moved in age of 20, I have moved to Finland. And this is I think the big change in my life, because I kind of transferred myself from the, let's say, teenager life into young adult life. And I ended up right away in up north in Finland, in Rovaniemi, which is, as you know, maybe not the most central point of Finnish basketball. But I was lucky because back then here was living one FIBA referee in the same city. It was Janne Muurinen, and he invited me to the game to kind of recheck what I'm doing, what type of person I am, and what kind of referee, what level of skills I do have and stuff. And well, he was probably quite satisfied of what I've been doing there on the court because he kind of shared his thoughts with the decision makers back in Helsinki. And then I was invited, to those. In Finland, we have those different clinics, like a talent clinic and then referee clinic for the potential referees to the top league and stuff like this. So there's a different structure. But the point is that I was invited to those clinics and kind of passed those clinics well, and then been invited to to be a top referee, but top league referee. But we have top league, and then we have first division. So first you go to the first division and you officiate first division men and the ladies games, and after that, couple of years, and then you might be invited to the top league.
Yeah.
So I would say the milestone was this game with Janne Murinen when he noticed that I might be a good referee for the next level. And then what I recall was invitation for the ladies top league. Next one, obviously the biggest dream since I've been living in Finland, was 2015. So after 4 or 5 years being in Finland, I got invitation to the top league. And then thing that I've been dreaming since the beginning of my career was the FIBA license 2019, after 4 years being in a top league here in Finland. And I think this kind of concluded my dreams. Of course, after that, the dreams start moving forward and they expand and extend, and you want more and more. More you eat, more you want. But I think this was something that I always was working for, and this has been concluded in 2019. So here we are now.
Right. Well, I mean, such a unique path you had to refereeing, and I think, as you said, the journey kind of continues, because every referee that I talk to who have been to Olympics, for example, talks about, that's the ultimate place to be based on their experience in the Olympics. So I assume that's also, in the back of your mind somewhere. And you talked about something interesting, which is that you started as a table official in Poland, and that is one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you, because you come from a I mean, I don't want to offend anyone, but a non-basketball country, or not a basketball first country. Maybe I would say, and I know Poland. I've actually studied there for a while, so it's like I would say third, fourth sport. Like after volleyball, it will be football, volleyball, then maybe basketball would come, right?
Yeah,
and in Finland, it's also like, okay, Finnish basketball has been on the rise for sure, and we're all here for it. But probably ice hockey, then football, then basketball still, if you put them in an order. So what got you started in Poland? Because this is one of the very interesting thing about the audience, is that, I get questions from, for example, people who are refereeing in Portugal or in unlikely places that you wouldn't think as a basketball country. So maybe what was your motivation when you started in Poland? How did it play out for you?
You mean when I started playing basketball, or generally?
No, just refereeing part. Well, obviously,
okay.
Now I learned that you actually started playing basketball. So how did that all, basketball interest?
Yeah, of course. Well, let's be honest, my basketball career on the court wasn't that long, because if I started being official in age of 14, so I played only a couple of years before that. Yeah. And actually it was a funny story, because I got those bracelet on my teeth, to put them in a nice order. And then every time when there was a practice, I got a ball and hit to my face and I was bleeding. So then my father said to me that, hey, you have to quit. You need to change the sport, because this cannot, last like this, that every time you come back and you're bleeding and bleeding. So then I switched, I was playing volleyball, which is another my passion of the basketball court. But yeah, this is, I was playing a few years. I really enjoyed. And then I was invited to be official, and somehow the teachers, because it was a secondary school, teachers noticed that this guy might be very good, and let's try. And once it started rolling like a snowball. I started liking it. I had actually one girl I remember back in a secondary school who was excellent player, and she started playing that time, and she was scoring 50 points in a game. And when we were age of whatever 11 or something, we made a bet that I say to her, you're gonna be in a national team someday, and she said to me that you're gonna be FIBA referee someday. And then we made a bet who will be first, and okay, she was first, but I was still glad that I could follow the same path, But this is a funny thing, that after whatever 20 years, you recall those moments, that there've been this kind of thoughts, and that was so far from being FIBA referee when you think now on the timeline. It was closer to not be than to be a FIBA referee, but still. It's nice to see that, okay, a lot of effort has been put since then, but you made it, and this is something that for sure gives you and people who invested into you and put time and effort into you, that they feel glad about it.
Yeah. And what would you say, like, is it in any form an advantage or disadvantage, starting a refereeing career in one of those, non-basketball countries? Did you feel that it was easier for you to get into? Did you feel that it was easier to climb up the ranks, or it's actually disadvantaged because it's not as mature as the other markets? Can you say anything about that?
Yeah, for sure. I remember since beginning that people were always questioning, how can you be a basketball referee? That this is something, it was always something questionable, and that really basketball referee. I remember when I was a kid and I was going somewhere with parents and all family members and relatives and staff, they were asking, how can you be a basketball referee? What are you running? What are you doing there? And how can you be this kind of little tiny boy? How can you be among the big guys there, telling them what to do? So definitely it was a challenge to kind of convince people that this is important, this is actually serious, that this is not a joke.
Yeah.
And if I would say that I am a football referee, for sure people would take me more seriously. That's for sure. Or even volleyball, involvement in a volleyball, it's taken in Poland. As you say, volleyball is the number one. But success runs the people's minds. So in that sense, that people believe in it and they follow it much more than basketball. And if I think about Finland and Poland, and they often compete on the highest level, I think they're pretty similar in that sense. Okay, the market is much bigger, of course, in Poland, but because of the number of people and staff and sponsors and everything. But if you think about the size of the sport, I think it's pretty comparable. So I didn't have a shock when I jumped from one country into another.
Yeah.
Of course, in that sense, I had shocked that I always say Finnish and Polish culture are similar, but they're also so different. Poland is, due to its location, I think it's kind of between the Nordic and the South. So the mentality, in a sense, it's a little bit hot, but also a little bit cold. But in Finland, people are usually cold. While you go to Turkey, Spain, Italy, they're very excited about everything or many things, and they put their emotion to various stuff. So in that sense, it was different. But if you think about difficulty, I think it would be comparable. Also, what comes to my mind is that back in the days, at least, there was in Poland big competition among referees. So when I started, there was a lot of referees, and it wasn't easy to go forward. That's for sure. I don't know how the situation is back in Poland now, but at least in Finland, the sport grows, and we need to follow up with the number of referees. And I think we are still missing some referees, especially on the lowest level or the youth level, where games are basically every day and multiply number of games during the weekend. So in that sense, I think we need to promote and encourage young guys. Okay, also through this kind of channels like yours, encourage young people to follow up.
Yeah, and that is one of the good points that you brought up, or actually your relatives and friends brought up. How a 14-year-old guy be on the court and just referee the actions of adults. Sometimes it is not very what will be the word? It's not really straightforward when you think about it. So it's a good question, and I look, I'm a 30-plus-year-old referee, and I have a lot of life experience. But day in and day out, and when I go to one of those youth games, I am paired with, for example, a very young referee who was maybe the same age as when you started. And what would you say to them? Since you have been there, and they're going through these like second division games with adults with a lot of passion. Third division, fourth division, even first division. What would you say to them? What helped you? Is there something you can share from those times?
Well, it might sound a little bit pathetic, of course, but this will make you stronger. If you end up in a game, second division, third division, with a lot of passionate guys who think they know everything about basketball, at least this is what they think, and they know everything about the rules. And obviously, those games are very challenging. They're tough games mentally, and I'm not saying physically, maybe for the young guy who can run easily back and forth, but mentally they're demanding, and in terms of management, they're extremely demanding, sometimes more demanding than top league games or FIBA games. But one thing always I believe you should keep in back of your head, that this will make you stronger. And for example, when I recall my history in basketball, if we talk about this 14-year-old boy, those days were very hard for me. I ended up in a major league at the beginning, when guys think they know everything. And I don't want to say there is a violence, but definitely there is a mental violence towards referees, and this was very hard. So my father had to come to the gym and pick me up because they wanted to beat me after the game, and I've been in the games that police was waiting after the game next to the gym because they didn't want to let us go out. And imagine being 14, 15, 16 with this kind of situations. Of course, I had many thoughts that I should quit, that definitely I'm not good, or and there was a lot of bad smell after the games, in a sense that those guys were spreading some unnecessary words about the referees. And imagine a guy 35 and he's waiting for the kid 15 years old to beat. I'm not saying he would beat, but saying I'm waiting. I remember as today, the guy told me, I'm gonna find your mother, when I was 15. Imagine. And now I would of course smile to him and say go ahead, but in that age it stayed in my head for months, and I still recall after 20 years those situations. Or I was in a game, I remember one person told me that, okay, take shower, I wait for you. And then we go out from the locker room and he's waiting there. So we went back to the gym and we took another shower. So, now I'm laughing, and it's fun, of course, when you have experience and life experience. But back in the days, it wasn't easy. And it's nothing to kind of warn the guys how terrible it is. It's not, but you have to know that this is like life. Different situation might happen to you, but at the end of the day, they will build you. If you think now what happened back then and now, you know how to react. I always say that I'm not the toughest guy for sure in the planet, but what I feel makes me strong is my history, because I've been thrown to the big ocean right away, with the big guys who were speaking very nasty stuff, and now it kind of, you hear it but you don't absorb it anymore because you've been doing this 20 years ago for many years, so now it's not shocking anymore.
Right. So it's it's the experience itself is valuable to build your persona, to build your refereeing style, although at the time, as for a young kid, might not be pleasant experience. And obviously people need to understand, no referees, no games. Like, that's a very simple logic, but it is, I have to admit, when I was playing, I was type of the guy who would complain a lot to the referees as well. And after I started refereeing, I've realized that one of the major reasons for that is that the perspective of a referee and the perspective of a player is very different. And I would dare to say almost like two different games, how the contact is being judged, the timeline of the contact, for example, all these take mental computational power on referee's mind, whereas a player just looks at that snapshot of a moment as to what has happened then. And as a player, you don't see it, which caused a lot of frustration. And I'm assuming as a fan, on top of that, players do understand the rules a little bit. As a fan, you might not know all the rules around the game. It just builds up the frustration. That was my kind of perspective on it. And I was like, maybe this, what we are doing now, could actually also help in that, like, build up a shared understanding of the refereeing world and how referee thinks of the game. So thanks for actually bringing those valuable experiences up. And I exactly know what you're talking about. Like, I'm originally from Turkey, and I have been to games as a player which were absolutely not important. It was just a regular league game, regional league. It's not like, in football in England, they call it the Sundays League, something like that. Think about it.
Yeah.
And then people are just, unnecessarily, I would say, maybe passionate about it. And then, and I now, retrospectively, think that those referees, having gone through that experience, I have a better, chance of staying at the top level and, taking it, whatever the game throws at them.
Exactly.
All right. And the Polish fans are quite heated as well.
Yeah, they can.
Yeah, so
And,
like
again, we come back to this, that this makes you stronger. And of course, also when you think, especially I think the phenomena is when you move from one country to another and you have perspective from another country, or from another culture, like you and me. I think this is a big advantage because we do have a lot of players from abroad, of course. And we have players from Baltic countries, and we have Americans, and there are different cultures. And that helps you understand what is in their mind, because being emotional, I always say, it's not necessarily negative. It might be a personal feature. I'm emotional. It's nothing bad,
Mm-hmm.
but emotion connected with being aggressive or with complaining or some personal attacks, that's a different story. But emotion itself, I think this is beauty of the game. I like emotional players, and dealing with emotion. It's nice to see, for example, I think it's a big success when you are able to handle Balkan person. This is a success. You have to kind of categorize as a success, because for him, emotion are part of his day.
Yeah.
He put emotion here and there, and they always say, I have nothing bad. But from the kind of Nordic perspective, you might often read it as something negative, because this is how you've been taught, that you need to be able to handle your emotion. But
Exactly.
this kind of perspective and this kind of understanding also helps you, on the court, because you need to kind of distinguish what is bad, what is negative, what is wrong, what is against the rules, and what is just normal part of the game.
Yeah, and that is like, it applies to life in many aspects. Having multiple perspectives, from different cultures, but in the refereeing world also quite useful, because then you could empathize more with all the players from different nationalities on the court. Okay, let's a little bit talk about then. We covered the whole, you being from Poland, refereeing in Finland quite well. We haven't yet touched upon the fact that you're in Finland, yes, but you're all the way up north. Like, we have 6, 7, 9 hours between us. If I were to just take a train right now,
I think 12 by train.
12. All right, there you go. So it's it's a different Finland experience you have compared to me, who's in Helsinki. And I don't know if somebody holds stats around this, but can you be the FIBA referee who lives the most furthest up north at the moment?
I would put my money that yes, for sure. Iceland is also up north, but keeping in mind that I live on the Arctic Circle, so I think I might be leading that stats.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your experience. Having a base in Rovaniemi, Finland. For those who don't know, it's the Santa Claus's hometown. How does it work out, both in the local league and the FIBA games you attend?
Well, it might sound very tough, obviously, because of the distance and the location. But I've been doing this 13 years now. I always say to people, because they make big eyes when they hear where I live, I've been doing this 13 years, and this is a rather matter of kind of organizing your life. Of course, I could have moved somewhere else if I want. I'm not stuck here because I need to be here. This is my personal decision. I love to be here. I love the place where I live, and I want to live here. But of course, that connects a lot of different arrangements. And maybe this is the toughest part, that I need to plan. I need to plan my schedule. I need to plan my work. I need to plan all the travels. I need to plan my accommodation when I travel, and drop off to the airport and pick up from the airport. There's a lot of. I think my wife is just laughing that she hates word logistics, because this is basically what my life is about. It's about logistics. All the time I'm planning, but I don't feel it tiring. This is, like I said, I've been doing this so long. But this is the fact. I think for some people, maybe that wouldn't be the case. That wouldn't be possible, if you are under permanent pressure of planning, and people like spontaneous life. I cannot. Well, off the court, my life is spontaneous, but in terms of basketball, it's very well organized. I don't have much time, for being too spontaneous. I have to transport myself from place A to place B, be on time. But yeah, basically, if we talk about the domestic league, all the games are, as you know, south in southern Finland, so I have to fly basically to every game. Sometimes I take a night train, and then I start, let's say, on Thursday evening, and Friday morning after 12 hours I'm in the capital. But on a regular basis I'm flying, so that's only 55 minutes, around 1 hour, so that's nothing. And then of course I go to the hotel. I stayed in a hotel. I ref obviously 1 game per day, but then I never stay for 1 day, unless those are playoff games, semifinals, or last year finals. That's a different story. But normally I stay Friday to Sunday, and I officiate every day 1 game, and then I return by flight back to Rovaniemi. But the same thing happens nowadays during the week, as the schedule is a little bit mixed. We also play during the week, so I fly on Tuesday and come back, let's say, Thursday morning, Tuesday and Wednesday game, and then Thursday morning. Yeah, and now if you think about the FIBA, it's basically the same idea, but with the much longer distances. So I always have to fly first to capital, and this is my hub where I change the flight, and then obviously I take the flight forward, sometimes 2, sometimes 3, depending where I'm going. So that might be very demanding in terms of energy level, and kind of getting us, as we talked back in the days, about the physical and mental toughness. because you have to be ready that you're gonna spend, I don't know, 14 hours at the airports and planes, and then you just go for a short sleep. It might be a long delay. You come in the middle of the night, and in the morning you have to wake up, because in a FIBA we have this rule that we wake up, 9 o'clock, breakfast, and then we have some conversation and stuff, and then you have a game, and right after the game sometimes you end up very late, and then your flight is, let's say, at 5 in the morning, so you have to wake up already 2:30 or 3 o'clock. So you don't have really much of relaxation, as people think that you go somewhere, to Portugal or Turkey for holiday. No, it's very far from being a holiday. But again, you do it for the love of basketball. How pathetic it sounds. It's true.
Yeah.
I've never done this for money. I have never done this for anything else than just enjoyment, that I really love what I do. And of course, I want to go further and further. And if I always say to my colleagues that if I would have done this for, let's say, financial aspect, I should have quit it already 20 years ago, or maybe not 20, because when you're a student, it's all right. But once you start working, you should have quitted this. You would earn much more on a daily basis at home.
Yeah,
I'm not even coming to aspect of family, relationship, how much you have to pay off from being away from home.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of arrangements, a lot of logistics. But again, I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it.
I relate to that as a basketball fan. It's just very unique experience to be on the court and be very close to the game. So it definitely is worth it. And from your point of view, obviously it takes a lot of dedication. Like, that is something I guess we can maybe learn from you, or it's a takeaway for everybody who's listening to this, that it takes dedication. If you want something, you do it, regardless of the circumstances. That is making it a little bit more challenging compared to the rest of the people, as in your case.
For sure. Yeah, but that you well said. If you really want something, and again, this, we hear this very often for high-level sportsmen, that if you want something, you can get it. And somebody has a gold Olympic medal, and they say you can also make it. You might watch, eat popcorn and watch TV and say, what is he talking about?
Yeah.
But you can do the same on your own achievements. You don't have to be always Olympic champion, but in some, if you have some kind of aim, if you really put effort, and it's not gonna be easy. How many nights I haven't slept, how many days I've been traveling, how much effort from my wife it takes that I'm away all the time from home. Of course, this is a combination of so many. You have to arrange your work also. Not everybody can arrange their work, in a sense. If you work in an ambulance, obviously you can't travel that far. But if you want, you can make at least big arrangements towards your to some extent, some success or some career.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, not everybody can make the same sacrifices, and not everybody is capable of making them. But there are things that you can control in your life. For example, I always tell myself, like whenever you have time, just focus on your signals. Just work. Go in front of the mirror. Just keep it doing. It doesn't mean that I'm going to be a Olympics referee one day. It's just something I can do right now in order to be better on the court. So I think that's the dedication part. Everybody should do whatever is in their power to better themselves, if this is something they want to achieve. That
was good. And once you said about the signaling, actually, you might believe or not, but yesterday we were driving.
Yeah.
I wasn't the driver. I was sitting as a passenger, and I got this moment that I'm suddenly out of nowhere. I want to practice something, like you say, maybe 2-3 times. And we are driving, and I was kind of showing the end ones or some reporting, and my wife was looking at me. What are you doing now? But I got that moment. I want to now do it. Obviously, I'm not going in front of people to supermarket and doing this, but you always find that 5-10 seconds. Yeah. You don't need to get ready, put yourself into clothes and stand always in front of the mirror. But sometimes you just get that moment. I want to now show this. Oh, now I got it. That's how I was thinking for last 2 weeks, that it would look better.
Yeah. I do you one better. I actually do it on a somewhat regular basis in public buses. When I'm on my way to the games, I'm like, okay, now I have like 30 minutes in the bus, or I better. And then,
luckily we are not traveling together.
And then I 8 on the arm. And then I can only imagine what that would look like to people. But you got to do what you got to do.
Exactly.
So what is the furthest you remember you have traveled from Rovaniemi for a game?
I think, of course, if you think about the Balkan countries, that takes a lot.
Yeah.
because of the connections. Helsinki, then somewhere Vienna, and then Belgrade or somewhere else. Iceland is very far. I think it took me also something like 12 or 14 hours. But the longest trip, I think, related to the somehow to the games, or somehow related to some extent to the games, was my FIBA clinic in Hungary.
Okay.
In 2000, and I think it was 17 or 18, and I was that time working in South Africa. And then we got an email that the FIBA clinic, preparation FIBA clinic to get a license, is in Hungary. So I had to take a plane from Cape Town to Hungary, which took me like 22 hours to get to Hungary. And I remember, of course, the time change and everything, and so many hours on the flight, and I was really dead, but I made it. I made it. So that was also kind of long travel, but with a good outcome.
Things we do for the love of basketball. I know.
Yep.
But okay, this is a nice segue to what I wanted to ask you. So what really we can learn from you is, all that travel, all that organizing, arranging your life, and you need to be on the court with your best self available, both mentally and physically. And like I have games on the weekend, and I travel basically via public bus, up to 30 minutes maximum. And after 1-2 games, I feel like it's wearing me down. Like even mentally, you feel like you're on the third game, and then you feel that your mental capacity has shrunk a little. First, let's start with, how do you get yourself physically in good shape? I mean, and I'm not talking about, that you go to gym and, you keep yourself ready, but, you had 14 hours of travel, slept maybe on the plane. How are you able to go onto the court and be physically ready? Is there any secret, or is it just, good genes?
Maybe good genes. I was thinking about it quite much, actually, how it's possible that I don't have any pains or injuries, or I don't feel any kind of stuck in my body, that I feel it in my body,
Yeah.
And maybe that's a lot about genes. But I think generally, okay, of course, we're not gonna talk about going to the gym or running, but I think the overall picture, how you treat your body. Somebody said that the stuff what you eat is your medicine. And I think that diet and physical kind of awareness on a daily basis, it gives you a package that then you can utilize when you travel. I don't think that you jump on a plane and you can expect that you will be fine if you've been heavily drinking the whole week, and you were eating, sorry for the word, but some junky food, and you were sitting in front of a PlayStation, and obviously you can't expect anything good out of it. But I think I don't like being crazy. It's not my part of life, but being kind of rational, in a sense that there must be time for everything. There must be time to play a PlayStation, but there must be time to go for a run. There must be time to eat healthy, but there must be time also for a burger.
Yeah.
This is normal life, but the idea is that to keep a good balance and not make it, that suddenly you treat your body well and treat your mind well. And I think this is the key to success. And then it's much easier to travel also. But of course, all those little things, I older I get, more I kind of educate myself about how to treat your body, and how big importance is, what you eat, actually, how it impacts on your sleep, on your daily thinking, on your memorizing stuff, or your focus. Also, and what you eat before the game has a big impact also, at least in my view. Somebody might say that's ridiculous what I'm saying, but I think it has a big impact on your awareness, or your consistency and stuff. So all those little puzzles, of course, they play a role. At the end of the day, you need to know the rules, you need to know the interpretations, you need to have experience, but all those little they won't bother you for sure.
Yeah. And is there something like specific that you eat, for example, before games? Like, obviously, I'm not talking about very specific, but carb heavy, protein heavy. Do you have like that kind of rule of thumb for yourself?
Not really. But what I noticed a couple years ago, that I need to eat something before the game. Some people prefer to be rather on the hunger. Especially, I heard some journalists like to comment games on a hunger, because they feel like more motivation or something. But I like to eat. I like when my stomach is pretty full, not over full, but pretty full, that I don't have to think anything. I think my metabolism is quite good, so I'm burning it quite well.
Right.
But somehow I feel more confident when I'm kind of full inside, that I don't have to think that I'm hungry or something. But since few years, because I started drinking coffee a few years ago here in Finland, I have never drinking coffee in Poland.
I mean, in Rovaniemi, you kind of need it in the winter.
Yeah,
It's just,
yeah. As you know, Finnish people love drinking coffee. I
yeah,
think this is the leading nation in
yeah,
terms of coffee drinking. But I found it that I have to have a coffee just before the game.
right.
I'm not saying it's an addiction because I don't think it is. I can control it, but I like it. I like that it kind of wake me up.
Yeah,
And we started doing this. I remember a few weeks ago I was in a FIBA game and I took an espresso just before the game, maybe 40 minutes before the game, and my colleague was, how can you do it? I said,
yeah,
this is perfect wake up, perfect wake up, short espresso, and let's go.
yeah. And you got to know what really works for you, for sure.
Yeah, you need to find it out yourself.
Yeah, because for some people, if, for example, I like coffee before the games as well, but if I take it too close, I feel that it actually increases my stress levels. Like, the heartbeat goes up.
Yeah.
So it's for example, yeah, like you got to know what's really working for you, what timeline, what schedule. But I'm on the same boat with you in terms of, being full before the game. Like, not like full in a way that you just ate and then you have to run like for 2 hours, but you're not hungry. That exactly. I agree. What about the mental side of the game? Like some referees says that they like to take a nap before the game, to kind of reinstate the focus. How do you do it? And I want to, like, this question has two layers. One is before the game, when you go to the game, like, you're on the court, you have a feeling of what is your current self is like. I have it, for example, I feel that, today, maybe I'm not 100% motivated, or I'm not 100% concentrated. Maybe I slept bad, or for whatever reason. So when you feel that, you're not feeling it as much as some other day, what do you do? And the second, how do you keep it at a consistent level, especially in your case, because, you have traveled for X amount of hours, etc., etc.
Yeah. Let's say the umbrella for me, it's a good sleep. I love sleeping. I always like sleeping, but I found that sleep is the best recovery for me. And I do sleep basically, I don't want to say all the time, but whenever I have possibility to sleep. Okay. Before the season here in Finland, we had to make kind of 3 different categories of self-development or self-promises, what you want to improve. And I said, I want to still improve my sleep. Although I believe that I sleep a lot, I still want to improve my sleep and make it more regular. Because I noticed that I watch the games quite often at night, and then, the nights are a little bit broken and stuff. But again, sleep. Once I jump on a plane, I don't even wait for the instruction. I fasten my seatbelt, I go to sleep. I know I have 1 hour of a good sleep.
Right.
So this is always starting for me. I wake up here, I go to the plane, I go to sleep. Then I enter the hotel, I go to sleep. I don't sleep for 5 hours in the hotel, but I take a sleep 1.5 to 2 hours.
Okay.
Always before on a day game, I have a nap. That's a must for me. And when we travel for FIBA games, we go breakfast. After breakfast, I come back to the room. If I have to do something urgent for my work, I do it. Otherwise, I go back for 1-2 hours nap. I find it, first, of course, it kind of calm you down if it's a big pressure game.
Yeah.
And second, you release all the other things. Your mental side is switched off for 1.5 hour, and you don't have to think about anything else.
Yeah.
So I don't treat it as I don't take it as a body treatment for the physical preparation, but as a mental preparation.
Okay. The sleep.
It's a big thing for me. And I as I said, older I get, although I'm not old, but older I get, more I realize how important sleep is.
Good. So, okay, if I were to summarize, like sleep well, treat your body well in terms of, what you eat, what you drink, like, the basics actually that everybody talks about, but you're kind of a living example, is that if you get those right, you can be a FIBA referee, even from Rovaniemi.
Let's say so.
Yeah, and a sparkle of good genes from Poland.
Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, as we discussed. Okay. Final segment of our conversation, and I want to kind of go into some of the things we talk, and I think makes you also unique from the refereeing style point of view. We talked before this episode. We thought that you told me that you have some tips and tricks that you do as a preparation for games. You told me about how you have a chair, and then you have a ball, and then you practice for traveling situations to see, you know, this first step and releasing ball situations. You have told me that you invent scenarios in the game when you have downtime in order to be prepared if it actually happens. So what are all the, you know, these tricks that you have or tips that you know do yourself, and can you expand on them a little bit?
Well, yeah. I've been thinking some years ago, you know, what could be helpful for me, because there's a lot of happenings. I'm not talking about the, you know, basic regular foul, because this you need to just know how to officiate, but how to get ready for something that you could be potentially ready, that doesn't happen, for example, often, or on the other hand, that you might have problem with, you know, that you struggle, let's say, with traveling.
Yeah.
Which I think that many referees have a problem generally, how to recognize the pivot foot, like we talked of the video, you know, about it, that it's not the easiest aspect. So like you said, I try to kind of, you know, imagine hypothetical situations or hypothetical way, or, you know, how to deal with those situations. So for example, if we talk about the violations, the traveling it's a good example. Yeah, this is how a few years ago I invented that strategy. You put a chair at home and you play yourself. Chair is an opponent, and, you know, you try to pick up the pivot foot, and then you try to think physically, if the player wants to go to the right, can he release the pivot foot? Of course, and again, if we come back to the court, you have to judge what you see, but at least having understanding of the physicality, you know, of the motion, which way he goes, which way he release, it helps a lot.
Sure.
It helps a lot. So if I see that he has left pivot foot, you know, pivot foot as a left, and he release it before he make a dribble, okay, I know it's gonna be travel. So I already kind of limit the possibility that to the left generally might be legal, but to the right there is no way that he will make no travel. So okay, or I see he's going to the right, I get a light that okay, potential travel, and then I see whether he really make a travel, but already kind of squeeze the, you know, chance for illegal play.
Yeah.
In that sense. So this is one of the things that I kind of found out very helpful. But what I try to do also, especially in last years, is that I watch all the games. I think I have watched this season all the domestic league games, and I try to pick up those tough situations and think how I would deal with it. I'm not judging whether the referee made it bad or good, because often it's very good. Sometimes, of course, it might be wrong, but that's not the point. I'm thinking if I'm there, what I would do. Of course, especially when something went wrong against the rules, then you have to, you know, I start to think, okay, what went wrong? What would be the good outcome or good interpretation, and how I would do it to look it that it looks better. You know, I don't know if I would have done it if I'm there, but at least I try to get ready. I think that on the court, the number of situations on the court which might happen it's quite limited. You know, it's not unlimited box. And even if this 1%, if something totally extraordinary, this doesn't make you bad referee if you don't know, or you judge that 1% of situations wrong. But 99% of situations you might imagine that they happen. So you know, I've been lately thinking, okay, more often we get into playoffs and more tough games, I'm thinking, okay, what if this is the last minute and we have fight situation, right? We have elbow, and then we have a player with trash talk, and then we have a coach coming, and what to do? And I'm thinking, okay, first we take team A to the left, we take team B to the right, we split them. You know, you kind of imagine protocol in your head, so that when it happens, you try to be automatic. I don't know how much everyone can kind of follow that automatism, but I found out that it helps me a lot. And I've been doing this, and actually I realized that sometimes I do the situations I've been thinking at home about, as you know, as a automatic control. I don't even think about it, you know. Same with the IRS procedure. You know, I've been thinking how to make it smooth, nicer, and quick, and that it looks good, and not, you know, offensive or anything, but just that, hey, I know what I'm doing. So quickly, bam, IRS, hey, please go to the bench side. You know, you communicate, you go there, you watch once in a normal speed, once slow-mo, and you talk with your partner. You are not just watching the video. You talk that you know, you get ready mentally and prepare that, okay, if this happen, what can we do during this IRS? Okay, we are going to watch whether this was unsportsmanlike foul or not. But at the same time, we can watch whether this is the correct free throw shooter, right? To double check. And we can see whether the clock stopped correctly.
Right.
So not that we leave the IRS and then we're like, oh no, now we don't know who is the free throw shooter, and we go there again.
Right.
Those little preparations, like what if, what if?
Yeah.
If this happens, what I do? If this happens, I know it's not possible with every type of situation, but many, especially conflict management, you can get prepared. What happens if this player will do this or that, or players get, what you do? You're gonna stay and watch? No, you need to be ready for this. This might happen anytime.
Exactly. I think if I'm thinking about from the point of view of referees on their early career, this would be very applicable from a game management point of view. So, for example, you as a referee roughly know what type of coaches are there. The one that always talks, the one that is mostly silent but then yells at time. You have different archetypes. You can, before going to a game, even if you don't know who are the coaches or the teams are, because that's how it is in the youth game sometimes, you can actually prepare. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. If this is the coach types I'm expecting, this is how I'm going to deal with it in that particular scenario. I can see that being very useful to have a game plan like this for things that you're likely to face on the court.
Exactly.
Has there been a scenario that you played in your head and then it actually happened on the court and you were like, I remember this? Or is it more like, as you said, things like IRS, things like conflict that you expect to happen anyways, and sometimes they happen and it's just magic?
Yeah, maybe there was not any, maybe I'm lucky that there was not any big mess situation in my life, but there was many situations that I've been thinking about and they actually happen, for example, some kind of special combination of penalties, normal foul, technical foul, and this, and how we proceed, and which way we go, that you don't think that it's automatic. Okay, one shot here, technical foul, 2 shots and the ball, and let's go.
Right.
But I had a situation also this season, for example, where it was technical, it was an unsportsmanlike foul called by colleague for both players.
Okay.
But then we quickly got together and we decided to watch IRS, whether there was, this actually happened, what has been judged. And based on IRS review, we noticed that one player committed unsportsmanlike foul, but another didn't do anything.
Okay.
So obviously you cannot cancel the penalty, but you can downgrade the penalty.
Yeah.
So once we decided that we keep one unsportsmanlike foul and second we downgrade to the personal foul, now came to my head, this is what I've been thinking, what if such situation happened? I need to explain to the coaches what happened because they have no clue. And if I just proceed, this will be disaster. If I just go to the court and say 2 shots and the ball, nobody understand anything.
Right.
So what I was thinking back in the days, if such situation happened, I'm gonna take 2 coaches to the mid-court and I'm gonna explain them what happened. Hey, there was called 2 unsportsmanlike fouls on your player and on your player. After review, we downgrade this one because there was nothing. We cannot cancel the penalty though, so we proceed with 2 and the ball. All right? Any question? No, thank you. Goodbye. And we continue. And this looked good. I think coaches trusted because this doesn't happen often when you take them to the mid-court to deal simultaneously with them. But I think this was I was happy that it went this way, but I was ready for this because I was thinking that if this type of situation happens someday, I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna go to the one bench, explain, and then go to the another bench because this takes ages. And at the end of the day, people who watch basketball, they get frustrated.
Right.
They don't want to watch me talking, They want to watch dunks and layups. They don't want to watch me talk.
I also it got to the point that maybe if you talk about EuroLeague and BA now, there's a lot of technology that allows these reviews to be displayed to the audience. But in a lot of leagues, you don't have that. You don't see what the referees are watching. You don't even know what they are watching, especially if they're on the court. So it's especially if you're watching from the stands. So yeah, making it quick is actually getting more and more important for the pleasure of the viewers in that sense.
Exactly. And this actually coming to your point about keeping people informed. What we try to do nowadays in Finland, we go to the announcer before review and we tell him what we're going to watch.
Right.
So that he can announce to the people that they know what they're waiting for,
Oh, that's pretty good.
So kind of communication and keeping people informed, I think this is the crucial also, for the fans.
Very good. Hopefully, some of the leagues, the games that I had pleasure to watch it live, last being in Portugal, where there was a couple of IRS reviews, and well, as a referee, I kind of know what they have what they were looking at. But in general, I think this is a very like a low threshold idea to keep the fans in the stands informed. Very good. Final question. This was a nice conversation. Really, I have really enjoyed it. We're filling the hour. So I'd like to give you the stage. For you to give like a free form advice for young and aspiring referees in their career. What are the things that you would recommend them in general to focus as they come up? What do you think is important, comparing to how you grow up to be the referee that you are right now? So what are your some thoughts around it?
Well, a couple of thoughts. First, I would say that stick with the basics.
Mm-hmm.
Just do the basic work. At this level, do the basic. Don't invent anything. Don't be a magician. Don't try to be alpha and beta, alpha and omega, or whatever you call, but just stick with the basics. Call the normal stuff. Try to communicate with people if it's possible, how much skills you have and experience. Try to communicate to the players what you are doing. Try to explain, even if they don't agree. Just try. Trying is the point.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I've been trying to tell this to my younger colleagues that you need life experience. When I compare myself now and 20 years ago, you have to go through difficulties in your life. You cannot be a good referee without, I don't know, broken relationship, troubles at work, some financial problems, conflict with your friends. Whatever the type of problems you do have, they will make you stronger. I think when I think what been even 10, 15 years ago, I'm not the same person. And this is what you need to just understand, that problems are part of the game. Problems are part of your life. And at the end of the day, if you're smart and you want, you can utilize them as a kind of, building your own toughness,
Right.
So you will be so different person after those situations. You will have much more experience how to deal with them, how to react to them. Nowadays it doesn't shake me when somebody is shouting on me, because you went through a million of those situations.
Yeah.
But 10, 15 years ago it was, technical foul, thank you very much. So those kind of things, they build you, they make you stronger, but they don't come automatically. So don't expect yourself to be 14, 15, even 20 and being a super strong referee. Also, don't expect yourself to be kind of the best referee ever in that age. Just do what in this moment you're supposed to do. Stick with the basic. And really last point, I think, is that ask questions.
Yeah.
Because nowadays we have a lot of availability. We have videos, we have streams, we have clips, we have YouTube, we have WhatsApp where you can share stuff. We have million of different interactive platforms where you can really learn, which when you think about 20 years ago, that was not the case. You can really utilize them. You can watch, think about it. Of course, watch better referees. I also watch a lot of guys from BCL. I watch guys from who are going now to Olympics. I try to, I don't try to copy them, but I try to look how they deal with this kind of, there is this compilation we were watching together with you sometimes. This compilation about communication in the World Cup in Philippines and in Japan. This was excellent. You can see how the top referees are dealing with the conflict or with the problems. You can watch it. Of course, you can't copy because you are a different person, but you can think about it, how maybe this one or two type of communication suits to your personality.
Right. Yeah.
Be active, ask questions. There is no stupid questions. I'm a mentor for a couple of guys, and I love when they ask questions, because that shows me that they are dedicated, they want to learn, and they really work on their own. If they don't ask questions, that is something wrong. Because if you don't have questions, that means that you think you know everything.
Which is probably never true for anyone.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing, so.
All right. So do the basics right. Be patient. It's a long journey. It's a marathon to become a really good referee. Be kind to yourself. Ask questions, and be hungry for learning. Is how I would sum up everything you said.
And aim high. Aim high.
Yeah, that's always good. Begin with the end in mind. Have a North Star.
If you don't get to there, but at least there you get here. But if you aim here, you will get somewhere here.
Yeah.
So put the level always up, and I think, again, this is very pathetic, but believe in your dreams. Believe in your dreams. I had a dream 20 years ago to get to FIBA, and here I am now. I have different dreams. I would like to go even higher or bigger competitions, and I work for it. I don't know if this happens, but I dream, I believe, and at least after next 20, 30 years, I can't say that, well, I haven't done enough.
Yeah. you basically do everything in your power and then see how things play out.
That's the thing.
All right. Thanks, Karol. It's been a very rich, knowledge-rich hour. Appreciate the experience and tips and tricks that you shared with us. Hopefully, we'll get to. This is something I tell all the referees that I talk with. We get to referee a game together rather sooner than later. But until then,
I hope so.
Yeah. Until then, we'll be in touch.
Yeah, but just to conclude, look at this. I have a glass with the FIBA logo.
Yeah.
The age was, I don't know if you can see, 2009 Eurobasket in Poland.
All right.
And
all right.
I remember I purchased this glass, so it's already blurry because it's been so many times in the dishwasher. But that time I bought it, and I hope that I will drink it as a FIBA ref when it happens. So
Yeah.
Dream high.
Right. I need to then change my coffee mug to something more aspirational.